All right, man. It's Tuesday night. You know what that means? It's time for another all over Overland show here on Overland Radio. Now, some of you may or may not know this, and I'm just going to go ahead and clear the air. I'm sick still, or again, whatever you want to. So, any of you jackasses want to make funny jokes, go right ahead because I'm going to be hacking and coughing. So, just for the hell of it, just go ahead and get it out on the chat and one thing or another. Yes, I'm sick. It sucks having an autoimmune disease, but it's what I got, and I've already taken enough shit from Michael tonight already. So bring it on. Anyway, so tonight's gonna be a really cool show. Excuse me. We have a couple of guests that listen. If you haven't heard of what they've started and created, then you're under a rock. But anyway, before we get started with that, again, special shout out and thanks to our sponsors, the Overland Attic, the Overland Essentials, Midland Radio. Midland has been a fantastic partner with us, just like everybody else. And we're extremely grateful. So, anyway, I'm going to try not to hack and cough too much, but let's bring on Michael in here real quick and we'll get the show going and then see what happens.
I think the reason why you're getting sick is because you're not trimming that damn beard.
I think you're a dick, but I think
it's just keeping all the shit right here, and it's infecting you because you don't know how to have a beard.
I think you're jealous because I look better than you do.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's it right there. That's right there, Mr. Coffee. That's it right there.
I know it. Yeah. Anyway,
I feel bad for you, man. It's just been like, I went through that where I was sick for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Like 3 months solid. I had a cough and nastiness and all that kind of stuff going on. So, it kind of sucks. Super excited about the show tonight.
Me too. If I could just keep from coughing, I may have to excuse myself part of the way so you don't have to listen to me hacking.
We're gonna have a fun discussion on rigs and coffee and find out how that kind of came about. And then they don't even know what we're gonna ask because we don't really know. We're just gonna be like, hey, this is
right.
We're gonna do like we always do.
Right out the gate, look at the comments. I look like a blackjack version from wish.com. What the ever-loving hell?
That's awesome. That is completely awesome.
You know what?
Actually, so you still have the truck in the alley cab?
I do.
Why aren't you buying this thing from him?
I know, right?
I said 50% off last week.
Shit. Yeah, you wish. Listen, I'll drop this little Easter egg on everybody. If it doesn't sell soon, because there's an end of the year thing coming up, and I like to get things in tax wise and one thing and another, I may end up keeping out of your cab. But I don't know that. But I don't know if the truck's going to stay or not.
You're going to get a Jeep Gladiator.
Nah,
it fits a Jeep Gladiator.
I know, but that may just sit in the fucking garage.
Oh, well. Yeah, I got you. Adam Wood is on.
My man Adam, I talked to him the other day. This guy's pimping out an FJ like ain't nobody's business. I mean,
is FJ or did he get a new one?
No, it's the same one.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, he's seriously putting everything into it. So
right on. Well, he should.
Crazy.
He should. He's making that big step 22 gear money.
We love Adam.
Hey, and everybody, when we get done with the show, if you will do me a favor, I've been trying to produce a few more YouTube videos. Go check out the All Over Overland YouTube page. I've got one where I do a review on Hey Trip's air foam mattress. So it's a self-inflating foam mattress, and I think it's a pretty good little product. I don't think it's even that expensive. So, and there's also a link in the description that you can get up to like 20% off. So check that out.
Yeah, and it looks like a pretty cool.
Molly was even like, "This is comfortable, Dad. I like this." I was like, "Well, I only got one." So,
and while you're at it, Donald Wood's in the chat tonight, and he's got
a video.
Yeah, he's got a video on some sliders or something. I don't know. Y'all forgive me. I just woke up just a little bit ago. Michael actually had to get me.
I had to send him a message to wake his ass up.
Well, I was kind of halfway awake. I was already kind of getting ready, but anyway, I was falling behind. But anyhow, Donald Wood, I think it's is it Overlanding Anglers? Donald, just put a damn shameless plug into the chat and everybody go.
SSO Rock Sliders. I don't know what that. I'm not sure with the company, but hey,
Yeah,
get
just
some rock sliders.
in the in there, and we'll call it good.
I don't know what they fit. I don't know if they make them for all models. But you'll need to get with Donald on that. But yeah, go check out he'll plug it. He's
Tonight,
plugging himself.
You'll need Bailey's with
coffee,
your beverage, because tonight it's all about coffee.
Yeah,
right.
I've still got oil fire whiskey, but let's bring the guys on. So,
Bring it
Rigs
on.
and Coffee, we've got David and Jacob. Bring them on.
The guys that founded it.
Yeah. So what's going on, gentlemen?
How are you tonight?
Doing well. So we always start off the show with mandatory whiskey shot. If espresso's what you're needing to do, then that's totally fine. But oil fire whiskey here for me. Everybody out there listening's drinking up right now. What do you got, Lee?
This is bourbon and Coke.
Bourbon and Coke. Jacob, what do you got? Water?
I got water.
Straight vodka. Everclear.
Yeah. Damn, boys, we got an overachiever on the show tonight.
Uh-oh. What's in there?
There's a Royal Salute 21.
Oh,
whoa.
That just sounds good.
That sounds badass. Jacob, you got to up your game there, dude.
Watch, Jacob's like 20 years sober. Nah, I'm good.
No.
Yeah.
Last time we did a whiskey scotch tasting at David's, it got a little wild.
Dude,
Really?
I've gotten so drunk on the show that I took my shirt off.
So the question, David, the question becomes, do you have pictures?
Oh,
Pictures.
There is there's some evidence of the occurrences of that.
So there is some humiliation evidence, right?
Yeah, and then there's a total lack of memory from I don't know, I want to say 1 to 5 a.m.
Oh shit,
Nice.
that's the I'm not responsible because I don't remember.
I've had a few of those nights.
Yeah.
A few of those nights. We like to kind of get loose and carry on.
Tell us where you guys are at. Where you
are you guys located?
I'm in Southern California, about an hour north of Los Angeles. I'm in Simi Valley, California.
We're sorry, but okay.
Well, hey, no, hold on. So we are. I'm gonna laugh because I'm gonna. So we have the AR uppers in the background there. So we're known for two things in Simi Valley, and
what's that?
Michael looks like he already knows because he's already laughing. So number one is the Reagan Library.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There you go.
Which is probably one of the most beautiful ones in the country and amazing to go to. Number two is the Rodney King trial. So those are.
I love it. Actually,
and that's the show. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
that's the show.
it is a very conservative little bastion of
Now,
of Southern
if Jacob
California.
tells us he's from the Bay Area,
No,
I'm gonna probably lose my mind.
I used to live up the street from David, and now I live up in Central Oregon. So
nice.
Yeah.
So have y'all seen what they're gonna do with the new gun law in Oregon now? What your pistols are gonna look like? So you're basically gonna have a magazine that's about that long.
Airsoft. They're gonna have airsoft guns.
Dude, there are so many memes going around of a Glock, and they've cut it all the way off except for about that much below the trigger guard.
That's too funny. That's too funny. Now I was in.
I love Oregon. It's beautiful.
We spent a Thanksgiving there, and my family's pretty conservative, most of us, and so they'd find out we were from Oklahoma, and they were like, "We're not that kind of California. We're not that kind of California."
Actually,
so funny.
Oregon's one of those places that I got to visit this last year at the Pacific Northwest Expo, and damn, that's a beautiful place.
It's nice.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just wow.
Yeah, I mean, 15-20 minutes from the house, we could be literally overlanding, overlooking the lake, and it looks like you drove 5 hours to get there.
See, here's the deal. That's what we call cheating.
Yeah,
because we're from Oklahoma, so really, to get to any real kind of overlanding, we've got to drive. I've got to drive 4 hours.
Yeah,
Lee's probably 2.5 hours.
Yeah, roughly.
Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas is a big place where a lot of us in this area will go overlanding. And I mean, it's not great big mountains, but it's pretty, and there's national forests and all that kind of stuff. So we're lucky to get to be able to do that. So 15 minutes.
Oregon.
Yeah.
Oregon and the Eastern Sierras along California. Holy jeez. I mean, it's, yeah. Michael and I have had that conversation, but I stayed 4 or 5 nights just north of Crater Lake, about 4 miles back up in that area.
Oh yeah.
Damn. Golly. Anyway.
Yeah,
all right.
Nice.
So Oregon and Southern. So wait, that means David's not too far from Adam. Adam's in
Adam Wood with Step 22 gear.
Yeah, he's down there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah, actually, I saw him at an event a couple months ago.
Yeah, he's a gun-toting son of a bitch. So
was he high or drunk?
Wow.
It was a morning event, so
so he was still
I don't know if he was high. He could have been. He could have been hungover. It was at a coffee
there he
place,
is.
so
there he is. Yeah, he was hungover, so he's getting coffee. That's exactly what it is.
Well, hey, let's kind of crawl into this a little bit. I've got the first question I want to ask is, what came first, coffee or rigs for each of you? Like that passion, that kind of that drew you to a rigs and coffee. Was it coffee first or rigs first?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was always vehicles. I mean, it didn't start out as 4-wheel drive vehicles because I grew up in Southern California. So auto meets,
mini trucks and lowriders,
JDM imports and European imports. So
gotcha.
And then transition into, off-road vehicles.
Right on. How about you, David?
Yeah, definitely. I came out of the car scene as well. Now, my dad was a lowrider mini trucker for a long time. So,
dude, I hear they're coming back.
They are, yeah. I mean, it's like the S10 will rain again, apparently, or something.
If you can find them,
but it's only going to rain if you can do this with it.
Now it's when the bed comes up and twists around and does all the stuff. That's the ultimate mini truck lowrider. I grew up with a big push. A lot of people took those S10s because they wanted the frame to put on hot rods and old trucks because they fit almost damn perfectly on old trucks, and it was just a better frame, a newer frame. So a lot of those old truck frames are rusted out, and so the S10s, man, they're harder to find than they ever used to be.
Yeah, they had that S10 Lightning that was, I think it was a Lightning or something like that. It was lowered body kit and everything. That was a very popular little mini truck in the early 2000s, actually, when it kind of reared its head for a little while.
GMC Cyclone. Yeah.
GMC Cyclone.
And the Typhoon, the little Jimmy Blazer.
That was the Blazer version. Or
the F-150
I'm car guy.
Lightning.
I'm a big car guy also. It was definitely rigs for me first. My first vehicle was a 63 Chevy pickup truck that had a racing motor in it. It was a short wide bed, so it was a little rare because most of them were a narrow bed and long bed. So it was badass. It wasn't ever painted, so it was Dookie Brown like all the time. But it was loud and awesome.
My business partner calls me and he's like, "Hey, dude, I'm buying another car." And I'm like, "Listen, man, you got 2 Raptors, 2 Model A's. You got $100,000 Nova with this blown engine. Then you got, and I say blown, not like blown up, but I mean like blower. Yeah. You got this other hot rod you built. Then you just bought this Chevelle. I think it was a Chevelle. And he's like, "Yeah, but I'm buying one of your cars, man." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Going to get me a Buick T-Type." And I was like, "You son of a bitch." That son of a gun. I used to own one, but didn't know what I had when I was a kid or young. And so he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to buy it and flip it." And I'm like, "Can I drive it first?"
Wow. Tease you with it.
I know. Isn't that wrong? I mean, what kind of friend is that? That buys my favorite car.
So we were pretty excited about getting you guys on. Obviously, Rigs and Coffee has spread across the country, and that's got to be pretty amazing for you guys. What was kind of your first motivation in doing this? And did you do it mainly as a local thing, or did you have this idea that this could be, something where you had basically chapters all over the United States?
Yeah. So I'll give you a little background.
Okay.
So kind of focusing in on like how Rigs and Coffee, I think, started and how we met and what happened from there. So back in 2018, I was doing some like overland trips with some local clubs in Southern California. The kind of trips that you leave Friday morning at, I think, 3 or 4 a.m. You're on the trail by like 7, 8 a.m. You run all weekend and you get back Monday morning and head to work, right? Those kind of crazy trips. And so when I wasn't doing those trips, there was really no one to discuss projects with. I just bought a Jeep JKU and was, cutting it up in the driveway and building it out piece by piece, depending on what I thought was useful. So I was trying to network with some people, and there were some, get together casual events, but they were like an hour and a half away or 2 hours. So I think the first one I created was just that coffee shop, bagel shop in the Valley. And a couple of my friends, one who had just bought an FJ 60 came, and a few people showed up. I think like 20 people, 15 people, which David was one of those. And so, it was kind of just this casual thing, nothing kind of intended to grow out of it. And then the next month, we realized we had too many people to fit in this little like coffee bagel shop parking lot. So we just got together at the mall parking lot, and it was a bigger group. So I think after 1 or 2 of those, we got too big for the mall, and the mall was like, mall security came around and was like, "What are you guys doing?" We're like, "Well, we're having coffee and just chatting." And they're like, "You can't do that here." So we're like, "Okay, we'll figure out what to do." So David kind of got the group together and said, "Well, what do you guys want to do?" And everyone's like, "Well, we want to do some trainings. We want to do some trips. We want to, kind of have fun with this." And so we partnered with Frontrunner Outfitters for the first like official location. And I think it grew from like, we were doing like 25 rigs a month to like, I think that first one was like 80, 100.
Whoa.
Yeah. So we had a coffee company actually come in, bring their coffee trailer. And then from there, we did classes. So we did winch and recovery classes with trainers. We did mapping and GPS seminars. We just grew from there, and we ended up meeting people along the way who said, "Wow, this is cool. We want to do something like this too." And we said, "Well, here's kind of what we're doing if you want to partner with us and host an event." And so it really grew organically. And all of a sudden, next thing I think we knew, we had 15 events across the country, and now we're pushing 30 plus or close to 30. And it's all been organic. So David and I have self-funded this project because we want to see what would happen, where it would grow, allow it to grow organically without outside influence. And we've really kind of fine-tuned like how we work, how all the locations are set up, how we create these partnerships, how they're run, what we offer as far as the organization is concerned, and being inclusive of everyone in all lifestyle. Like, part of growing up in the car scene was like, if you have a JDM import versus your Euro import or your truck guide, they're completely different. Like, they don't commingle. And so you want something where like Jeeps or FJs or classic 4x4s and new stuff can all come together. People can hang out, families, pets, and go have fun together. So that's essentially what we created, and it's just kind of blew up from there.
That's awesome.
Right on. And at some point you guys like, we need to trademark this, we need to copyright this, we need to make this a thing, we need to probably contact a lawyer, get some papers written up.
So that's been an ongoing process, because I think we're at a point now where luckily everyone knows who we are. We've done the trademark, we've done all the paperwork, but there was a phase during a little bit in the middle where we had a lot of people kind of piggybacking off of what we were doing and kind of trying to take the name and stuff and set up their own. And we're like, hang on, guys, like, we appreciate it. It's super flattering, but like, we are established organization at this point. Like, we're happy to add you as an event if you meet all our criteria. We want to make sure that every partnership's a good partnership. But yeah, at this point, we don't have that issue.
Gotcha. And I've got to ask this question before we get any further, because this is a coffee thing. So David, how do you like your coffee?
Pretty much black, sometimes a little bit of milk. Depends on kind of where I'm at, but yeah, for the most part,
not
I just
bougie
drink.
at all.
No,
A little bit of cowboy in you
most
right
people.
there.
Yeah, most people. I mean, it's. I do like finer things, obviously. Like I have tons of whiskey, so I'm a purveyor of fine spirits. But yeah, as far as coffee goes, I mean, if I'm camping or hunting, it's the little instant pack
frills,
of
man.
Black
Just get it
Rifle.
going. Just get that heart pumping.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a drug. It's a means to an end. But yeah, no. So that's kind of it. I mean, we have the Nespresso barista machine, and I've had way more bags of coffee than I've ever thought I would have in my life. So yeah, no, I'm a pretty basic coffee drinker though. Nothing too bougie. Although it is fun to try all the different coffees out there and be totally lit half the time. So
how about you, Jacob?
So my favorite setup is a little like jet boil and French press.
Yeah.
So that with a little bit of milk is perfect.
See, I'm a sweet and low. Like
sweet and low.
I know it sounds crazy, but and it's 3 packets of sweet and low. But I'm talking about like a big.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like it's a lot of saccharin, my friend.
Yeah, it's probably I meant it. But it's so sweet and so good. I just man, I had to pick up a new box of sweet and low today.
If it makes y'all feel any better, I hate coffee.
Really?
Are you a tea guy?
There's always
hell no.
So no, you look like a tea guy.
No, man.
He has as many Cokes every morning.
I drink a 12-pack of Coke a day, just about. No, actually, yeah, that's no joke either.
Yeah, he's not kidding.
So I like coffee, but I only like it, I hate to say this, kind of bougie. So my wife and I, we infuse coffee. So she does a peppermint mocha coffee and then uses a peppermint mocha creamer. And then I throw in the oil fire, and it is amazing.
Yeah, I was going to bring out a big bottle of Bailey's because that makes sense.
There you go.
Bailey's with coffee.
But I don't drink coffee at home. I only drink it when I'm camping, which is the weirdest thing at home. I make a pot of coffee for her every morning, and I never drink it. But if I go camping, I will drink a cup of coffee. Of course, the problem with coffee and me is I start shitting like a turkey afterwards. So, I mean,
it
has its purpose, man.
Yeah.
I mean, good Lord, nobody
shitting
needs
like a turkey. I've never heard that expression.
No. Well, if you were from the South, you would, but
and I watched a lot of turkey hunting. I've never seen it actually.
Never heard them talk about it. Yeah.
I tell you what, if you raise some turkeys like we did, you'd know what I'm talking. It's like a duck. They shit all over everything.
Okay. Now we've raised some ducks. So
yeah, you're with it on that.
They destroyed my backyard and my pool.
Comes full time.
Yeah.
Very cool. So so setting up this, so like tell us basically, like if somebody calls and says, hey, I'm in an area that there's Oklahoma City, that there's no, just throwing that out there, that there's no Rigs and Coffee in Oklahoma City, by the way. How would somebody reach out to you, and what would that discussion be like? Like, let's say I'm calling you and say, hey, I'm Michael from Oklahoma City, and I want to do a Rigs and Coffee here. What would it take to be able to use the name, and what process do we have to go through?
Yeah, so I'll walk you through that. And actually, so I see Cindy Pope on here from Northology Adventures. So I'll use her as a perfect example. And big shout out to Cindy. And I know Jimmy Shaw's on there too. And he's a real good friend and long time. He's been there since the beginning with us. So, but with Cindy, so Cindy reached out, and said, hey, saw what you guys are doing, like it, would love to do something. And so Cindy and I had a conversation about what entails being part of Rigs and Coffee, right? Is there a cost involved? Is there a fee? Is there some type of charter or anything like that? And the answer to all that's no, right? None of our locations pay $1, and that's the way we keep it. We want to have good people running events, and that's the most important thing. So we kind of go through and make sure we share the same ethos and kind of mentality, and everybody's on the same platform from that standpoint, right? And we've been lucky, right? Like we've no bad experiences, right? Which is unique and maybe a good reflection of our community as a whole, I think. Right. I was listening to your podcast with with the guy from More Expo and just kind of talking about that. And it was like, wow, yeah, no, it's the wherever we go, and we have friends that travel all over the country now. And it's amazing the community that we've been able to be a part of, right, and help come together. But so anyway, so Cindy reached out, said, hey, look, we want to do this, and we said, okay, cool, let's find a location. So I jump on Google and I'm searching different, like, where's a shop, where's this, where's that, and Cindy goes, oh, here's this, I'm thinking about this place, here's where it's at. I pull it up on Google, we look at the parking, like logistically, doesn't make sense, right? What is it, and it was an outdoor show called Rockford Outdoors. Or Rock Sport Outdoors, and I may be mixing that up a little bit there, but it is in Rockford, Illinois. So, and then we pick a date, we build the banner out, we get all the logos on board. If we need to have a conversation with the location host, or that shop, whatever it might be, maybe it's a coffee shop, maybe it's an outdoor store, maybe it's an Overland outfitter or retailer, right? Like maybe like Artemis, for example, right? Would be another one, or Equipped, right? And we kind of walk them through the process. Here's what it looks like, right? Because sometimes, especially the coffee shops, they have no clue what overlanding might be, right? Yeah. They're like, hey, some dude with a lifted truck wants to get together out here, and that, like, their closest thing to the industry is Fast and the Furious, right? Which is horrible, right? So so that's what we have to walk everybody off the plank for. But we walk them through that and take them through it, take them through the website, and that's where it starts, and that's how we get it going. And then we promote it. We send out a weekly newsletter with all the new locations on it. In Tulsa, for example, we have Okie Overland right outside there. In Northwest Arkansas, we work with NWA Rigs and Coffee at the Hub Bike Lounge, so we have a location there. We have another one out in Little Rock, Arkansas as well. Which it's amazing to watch this push through
the Northwest Arkansas one is badass.
Yeah, that's a really, really cool, really cool event. So Cindy's super nice. She's like, so nice and welcoming. So she's been amazing, actually. But yeah, so that's a really great event. And I mean, you go up to you're talking about Pacific Northwest, where we have an event with Ironman America, and every single month you're going to see over 100 rigs.
Oh wow!
At that event.
Wow.
I mean, I think the max we had there one weekend was like 200. And you're talking about I mean, that's like a miniature expo, right? At that point, right? Like, I mean, you're really packing the house there. And we're super excited because we're actually launching 9 new locations in January, all across the country, from Boise, Idaho to Austin, Texas to Atlanta, Georgia. I know there was something about bringing up Georgia every week, so I'm going to bring it up here. I'll beat you to it, Michael. And so there's
usually
I got there.
I got there. So
I do a little bit of research. So and that's with Rack Attack.
Oh, right? Nice.
And so who's made a big push into the Overland scene and really wants to be a part of it, and their managers are excited about it. And so so that's been awesome. And so it's just one by one, totally organic, natural growth. We've never, so if you want to start one up there, we jump on the phone, we find a location, and we make it happen. I mean, it literally is, it's faster than this podcast takes.
Really? So,
yeah.
So no, I mean, I don't mean this to sound weird, but like no qualifications as far as the person that calls up. Do you do like hey, look, how long have you been? Do you know anybody? Like, what's the? Yeah,
no, for sure. I mean, look, it's everybody carries a digital footprint, especially in this community, right?
Yeah.
So, so if we pull you up and you are non-existent, I mean, I'll give you, there's one time a guy called us and we kind of pulled them up and we're like, this guy just doesn't really fit, our brand. There was just maybe not as family friendly as something that we would prefer. So yeah, I mean, we definitely, we're I shouldn't say we're not anything. We're we want to focus on family friendly and good people, and get going, Michael, let's go. And so, yeah, so that's only happened, maybe 1 or 2 times, but it's and that's one of our number one requirement would be you have to have a location. Mm-hmm. So you have to have a partner who is in on hosting it, right? Yeah. So that's why you've seen a lot of, if you go to the early days, there was kind of a mix of locations as far as, where something might be. Whereas today we're dealing directly with the owner of that location. We don't, there's no parking lots, I shouldn't say no parking lots, but there's no malls from that standpoint, right? Because
you learn that
it's just going to end. It doesn't matter where you're at. Landlords are, mall landlords are mall landlords. And, if you're in Southern California, you've been in the import scene or one of the car scenes for long enough, like you've been hustled out. Countless times I've been hustled out of car lots, back in the day. And that's just, we're not interested in doing that. And so we stay away from it.
Now, as far as the coffee side of it, is there requirements that you have to have a coffee shop represented, or can guys just show up and make their own coffee? How does that part of it work?
Yeah, so for the most part, we're big on small business. So if we can find a local coffee shop that we can host, right? And we're all about, like, we want the coffee shop to come out and sell coffee too, right? Like we're putting, on the low end, $1,500, $2,000 tents on trucks.
Wow.
We can buy a $350 cup of coffee, right? Like, and if that's your complaint, then I don't know, go to mud.com and complain about it or something, right? But for the most part, right, we want to help businesses grow within the community too, right? So if we can bring out a local coffee shop, that's ideal. Some places, some of the outfitters will just bring in their own coffee. They might bring in a local coffee shop or wherever it might be. So they might just host, little cups and stuff like that. But ideally, here in Southern California, we have a really good relationship with Overland Coffee. So they come out and they brew, and they serve coffee right there. And so we've partnered with a lot of different coffee places, all over the country. And I would say, almost 100% of them are probably small local businesses, single shop, single roaster places.
So you see a mixture of like the coffee truck, and then just a local shop that maybe comes in with a couple of containers with coffee warmers, however that works, and has it ready right there to serve up, or people can probably go pick that up and bring it in and set it up on the table, because I mean, it's coffee, it's just easy to go.
Yes.
Right.
We've had a mix of everything from like cardboard coffee containers on folding tables to full built out sprinters and trailers with like espresso bars and cappuccino machines. So it's been a whole kind of gamut of,
now do you have to go into this with like, hey, we would recommend you not make your coffee at the place, like Overlanders, we like to show off our shit, man.
Yeah.
So that's not a problem also. I mean, as far as the coffee shop saying we want to be the only ones, making coffee and nobody else, that's not been an issue.
No.
Okay.
I mean, and, I've seen people make coffee a handful of times, but for the most part, if you can just walk over and get a cup of coffee, most of the people are going to do that versus, filing anything up. That said, we definitely have I've seen quite a few tempo tests come out and other things, and people start cooking, and I've seen like pretty nice breakfast spreads halfway through the morning. So that's actually a fun part. Tempo Tusk was actually just out at our last one, and they're making burritos. So
Jerry, was Jerry there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. Hey, quick question. How many people have you had try to like poach what you're doing? I mean, you know how it is when you have a good idea. For instance, I'll give you an example. Michael and I started this 3 years ago. And 3 years ago, we have over 1,000 episodes now. And it's right after we started it, it was like, boop, 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 boop. Here's all these other ones that are doing it. Now, the big difference is ours was broadcast, live over internet radio and heard around the globe, one thing or another. But have you had that issue?
We've had a few people. We've only ever had one person actually like get upset about something, and which was probably a red flag, which is, hey, this probably wouldn't have worked out in the first place of us working together. So maybe there's that. But we've had some other, there's especially out here in Southern California, there's so many events.
Yeah.
Right. And if you go up to the Pacific Northwest, it's very similar. There's so many events, right? And we all have a pretty good respect for each other. I mean, everybody kind of does their own thing. I mean, here in Southern California, there's Rigs and Brews, which does, a brewery thing. There's Rig Talk. There's, which was the new OC Overland, if you kind of go back through that heyday. There's Rigs and Beats, who's a really great guy. And I love his event. It's awesome. DJ comes out and everything like that. It's really cool. There's Purist. I mean, there's just so many, right? And so we actually all do a pretty good job of like not stepping on each other's toes.
Yeah.
There's enough people and there's enough days in the month that, I mean, really, that I think just like in the overlanding community, just like, I started my all over overland group on Facebook, and I wanted to invite all the groups in the area, to join also, and kind of be a mutual thing where, hey, look, I'll help you promote, and promote me if you can. If not, then that's fine. But I'm not trying to steal your people. I'm just trying to add to what the community as a whole is.
Well, yeah. Listen, Michael and I see now. The reason I asked you that question is because Michael and I had our own idea about something like what you guys have, but we were going to call it Cup of Joe and Ho. So we were going to have coffee and hose.
Strippers and
yeah. It was going to be Cup of Joes and hose.
I love it.
No, that's not a thing. That really, that's a leap.
That was your idea, dude.
No. I do have. I
wouldn't follow the family friendly. So
we're gonna start calling our followers road hose. We're gonna have T-shirts made up. I need to get with Jared. We're gonna have T-shirts made up, road hose.
Oh my God!
And I got this from work. A lady was telling me that her and her sister would get off work, and they didn't work together. So when you're working, you can't talk on the phone. So as they would drive their hour-long drive home that they each had, they would spend that time on the phone, and they called each other road hose. And I was like, I have to use this.
Yeah.
Like this has to be a sticker or a T-shirt or something.
That's pretty funny.
I don't care.
Jacob's sitting back over there going, hey, wait a minute. There might be some marketing behind this. You can see the wheels. Look at the wheels turning in his head.
There'll be a new T-shirt company on Monday.
Yeah, exactly. Jared, let's do this. He's a T-shirt guy. So now one of the other things that I was kind of wondering, and you've kind of hit upon this, Jacob, you've got a background on, it sounded like exotic import cars, that kind of stuff. Now when you guys decided a Rigs and Coffee, and David, you said it's a good mixture of everything. Did you realize that it was going to be dominated by the overland community? Because from my point of view, that's what I see mainly is a lot of overlanders doing this, and not saying that anybody with a rig or a vehicle can't show up, but it seems like it's pretty overlander thick.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's through like the way we marketed it was overland specific, and then also a lot of our partnerships. So like some locations are coffee shops, but most of them are overland companies. So places like Front Runner, Equipped Expedition Outfitters. We've worked with just a ton of different companies across the US. So I think that tends to bring a certain, group of people in.
Right.
Not to say we haven't had, I think we've had Corvettes and Porsches show up on occasion, which is not a problem. Bring what you drive. But we do have adventure bikes show up at some locations, venture van type builds show up, bigger like live-in RV off-grid things show up too, like Unimogs, things like that. So it's a whole range, but the majority of the vehicles across all the locations are more overland specific.
Look, we've all seen the Bugatti set up for overlanding on the internet. We've all seen that picture.
And the Ferrari that went all the way to
the guy that actually does the Ferrari stuff. And then we got Harrison that was going to be on with us last week, but he wrecked his Porsche.
I saw that.
Cheyenne. I don't know what.
Cayenne.
Cayenne.
I'm a big Porsche guy. There's like a
right before
Porsche F1 poster. My fingers are all messed up over there. But yeah, I'm a huge Porsche fan. So I follow.
I am too. My dad has always said if he ever got any money, he's going to buy a 911. Like that's his dream car. That's what he's always wanted. But he's a photographer, and then he retired. So keep buying that lottery ticket, Dad. Maybe one day.
I have a Cayman S, and I love it. And I got friends GT3s that I've been able to drive on track. I mean, they're just there's something different about a Porsche.
The amazing thing about the
Porsche, it's a different car.
Is that, like, especially with the 911, you can look at a first run 911 and a brand new 911, and you can still say that's a 911.
Yeah. Wait, ask a 5-year-old to draw a sports car.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna draw a Porsche.
Huh. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
What do you guys drive?
Anybody listening to ask kids, go ask your kid to draw a sports car. They'll drive it. They'll draw a 911.
And they're amazing. The 911s are amazing in snow and stuff like that. I mean, most people don't realize that. I knew a guy and he was driving it in the snow. I was like, what the hell are you doing? And he was like, out of all the vehicles that I own, it's the best one on the snow. Like it's just that German engineering. But Lee was about to ask something.
Yeah, no. What before I lose it and forget, what do you guys Overland in?
I have a 2018 Grand Cherokee Trailhawk.
Okay,
nice.
Cool.
Nice. Jacob?
So I had a Jeep Wrangler. I fully
this
built,
sounds like a sob story.
Right. Jeeps are great, but man, do they have very little space. So I got rid of that, and now I have a Ford Raptor.
Okay. There you go.
I mean, it's just so much more room, and you could throw all the crap in the bed you want. So
now, is that Pansy V6 or is it the V8?
V6.
Oh, Lee.
Yeah.
Well, the old V8 was okay, but the new V8.
What?
The new V8 that's coming out, the Raptor R, that's a whole different animal. That comes stock with 37-inch tires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Lee's got a partner that has what, 2 Raptors?
Yeah.
The V8, the older.
Yeah. They're all they're business vehicles.
Yeah.
They're
you get a deduction on that weight.
Sitting on 40s.
Sitting on 37s and 40s.
37s,
but the first gen is it's on 40s and it's got that 6.2 V8 and that son of a gun. God, I mean, it just runs circles around that V6 he's got. But
yeah,
he did tell me the other day. He did tell me the other day. He goes, "Hey, did I tell you I got my deposit on the Raptor R?" And I was like, "So what are you gonna do with the other 2? I mean, what there's no need in having 3 company trucks that are Raptors." He goes, "Well, I don't know. I think I'm just gonna sell my slot." So he's just gonna sell the slot.
Wow.
And he'll make 30 grand off of it.
I think he needs a tax write-off and donate them to All Over Overland.
There you go. Somebody wants to know David, what whiskey are you drinking?
Royal Salute 21. I almost started to go. I was about to go to the Blue Run, but I decided to stick with the Royal.
Royal Salute 21.
I haven't had that.
I need to look it up.
It's so it's crazy. So my wife will hunt whiskeys for me for like Christmas or birthday and stuff like that. So it's kind of a fun thing. So I'll get like these random whiskeys that show up. But it's she got this one for the birth of our daughter, and it's actually made by Chivas. So most people would think, oh, Chivas, like why are you drinking Chivas? Like that's got to be like some just whatever solo cup whiskey, right? Which there's a story about that I had in Alabama at a football game, but another time. And in this Royal Salute 21, she hunted down. This is like literally one of the top 10 whiskeys in the world to drink.
Yeah,
like it literally is like number 7, or it was at the time on that list, and it is phenomenal. Like you would think a blended Scotch would be, but it is one of the best tasting.
Tell her you want some oil fire and have her get you some oil fire.
Yeah, I keep on hearing about that. What is the oil fire? Where's this come from? How do I hunt it?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Okay. Yeah, it was born in Tulsa. And it the lady at the liquor store where I get it calls it Fireball for adults. It is it's a very unique, but I've had only one person I can think of in the last couple of years that's tried it that said, it's okay. Everybody else is, I mean, like John at Agile Off-Road that does the vans. He's down there in Southern Cal. He tried it. I gave some to Chad from Living the Van Life. Chad shared it with him, and now he buys it by the case and ships it to California. And so it's hard to describe it, isn't it, Michael? It's a little sweet
with a liqueur blend. So I'm a big old fashioned guy.
Okay.
Love old fashions. I had an older man tell me once, when you go to a bar, and that first round, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know. What do I want? No, be decisive. Always have that first drink planned out from day one. Like you always order the same thing that first drink. So I decided mine was an old fashioned. So I don't even have to think about it. Like sit down with a group of people, the bartender's like, hey, what do you need? And it's like old fashioned.
So that's awesome, because that's also mine, and that's how I judge whether or not they're a good mixologist, is
Right.
how they come up with their old fashioned.
Yeah,
nice.
So I wanted to be able to have, and this was before I discovered that they actually make those premixes, with the simple syrup and all that stuff. This is before I found that out. I wanted to get just one bottle that I could do very little work to have a good old fashioned at camp. And so with the liqueur blend, it has kind of almost that sweet that you would get from the simple syrup. And then when we were camping, I would just add some citrus bitters, and that's really it. That's all I would do, and put a couple rocks in there. And everybody at camp, when we were at the Enchanted Rockies Trail, we had 10, 15 people with us. And all the guys that were partaking was like, dude, this is the best old fashioned I've ever had. And I was like, well, it's just oil fire with, some citrus bitters in it. So it's nothing. I didn't really do much. But there's just something about having one at camp that is just way better than anything else.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you two things. So one, we were talking about the bougie coffee, and it made me think, because you guys are whiskey guys, right? And so I used to be an old fashioned drinker. I don't drink old fashions anymore because they're just too sweet for me, right? And then it was like, oh, do you do rocks on the whiskey? Do you do your whiskey neat? Do you put a little bit of water in it? What kind of, do you do Irish whiskey? Do you Scotch? Do you Japanese? And all these bourbons and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and so I was I was at a McAllen event, actually, at a big airport hangar over here, and this big McAllen event. Some big Scottish dude that looked like he was right out of Braveheart comes out, and he's there like brand and like VP or whatever is, right. And he was saying, he goes, all of you judge each other on how you drink whiskey.
Yeah.
And it's so true, right? Like it's unbelievably true how we judge each other on how we drink whiskey. And this is full circle here. We'll come back to the car community, right? Or the off-road community. I don't care how you drink whiskey. Are you drinking whiskey? That's great.
See,
I don't care if you have a Subaru Outback, a Jeep Gladiator on 40s, or whatever it is, or a freaking 83 T100, right? Like, I don't care. If we're out on trail and we're having a good time, then that's all that matters, right? And
there you go.
Totally.
And so I apply that to whiskey. I apply that to whiskey. I apply it to off-roading, and I apply it to everything. Like, if we're having a good time, we're having a good time. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
I don't care how you drink whiskey, as long as you're drinking whiskey.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
With
you
that
crack open a Michelob Ultra. If Jimmy Shaw's still on here, he's gonna get some heat right now. That's a different conversation, right? Like, you're not drinking like the Michelob Ultra on trail, right? This is not the place to watch your calories.
Yeah, it's kind of like getting on the trail. Somebody cracks open a White Claw, and you're like, "What the what?"
Yeah.
Trail Chasers. You can hear it. It sounds different. You can.
This isn't the Trail Chasers podcast where they dive into their White Claws.
Yeah,
no.
So that's so funny.
No.
Overland 14, Cindy, solid staple. I drink that primarily every time I go out. That's a solid staple.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so yeah, no, you can. The White Claw, there's always like a higher voice.
And Jacob's over there going, "Shit! All I brought tonight was water to the game." And there's all this whiskey
even have
talk.
coffee ready to go.
I know.
And then, Michael, the second one I was going to tell you is, if you're an old-fashioned drinker, order an Ardbeg old-fashioned.
A what? An Ardbeg?
Ardbeg old-fashioned. So Ardbeg is a Scotch. It's the peaty Scotch. So it's an Islay Scotch, but it's very peaty. It's super smoky. So what happens is you get all that smoke, and then you get the sweet that you're used to with an old-fashioned. The two balance each other out.
Now, do you do the smoke, like the smoke infused whiskeys?
Yeah. I have Irish peat here and other stuff and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's a fun time.
With a guy that does that at camp, Chad Boyd.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I would totally hang out with that guy.
The thing that melts the ice into a ball.
Yeah,
the crystal.
Love it.
Oh, he makes some good drinks.
The ball's important because then it doesn't you don't get watered down as fast.
Yeah, totally agree. You were talking about, as long as you're drinking whiskey, same thing. As long as you're in a vehicle, who cares? What's the craziest thing? Each of you probably has a different story on this. What's the craziest rig that you've seen show up at a Rigs and Coffee?
We had one. We had a I can't remember what it's called. One of those big, giant army trucks that's on like 5 foot tall tires.
Like a Deuce.
Bigger
It
than
had
the Deuce?
like a 5-ton.
Yeah,
Oh,
and it wasn't normal, right? The guy who built it originally, this guy had bought it, and this was just a couple weeks ago at Rifle Supply down here in Huntington Beach. He had taken the cab off of another 5-ton and welded it onto the back of the cab of this 5-ton, and then built like a custom 10-foot bed that actually had a 60 cal mount in the back.
Damn.
And I'm going to go with
That's
that as being the craziest. I can't remember what his big. I don't know, he builds like custom rifles and stuff like that and other stuff. But it was that was definitely that. And then Jacob and I have a friend. It's a gal, and she's got a Jeep JK 40-inch long travel, on 40s long travel rip supercharger, and Jacob has personal experience. I was further back in the line, so I wasn't as involved in it, but he has personal experience of pulling that thing out of 5 feet of snow via multiple other
Holy crap.
literally like well over 200 feet of tow rope.
Yeah, so we did that's a good leeway. We did a trip to Eastern Sierra. So we said to a bunch of people in the community, we said we're going out, meet up Friday morning at 5 a.m. or something.
That was a nighttime run. We started the trail at midnight.
And we're going to try to get 1,000 miles of trail this weekend and be back to work Monday morning. We don't know where we're going. It's the middle of winter.
Damn.
Just be prepared. And so we had 10 rigs,
something like that.
And everyone's experience. We knew everyone who showed up because we said it's experienced run. You need to have recovery gear. You need what you're doing.
No Honda Pilot showing up.
There's one crazy LR4 guy though. He was.
No.
Yeah, he pushed the shit out of that thing. That's for sure.
We hit 1,000 miles of trail in a weekend with a 4.5 hour drive to get up there. We camped in the snow. We broke trail on feet of powder, and I think the most recoveries we've had in a night. We were making dinner on the trail in the back of the rigs as we were recovering other rigs with multiple tow situations, hundreds and hundreds of feet of recovery rope, tons of max tracks, and it was awesome. We had a blast. And
I have a Gaia map somewhere that it's literally 16 hours and you did 6 miles.
In the
it doesn't become it doesn't become a good group, or it doesn't become family until something goes wrong.
Everybody in that group is family now.
And then after that, everybody's hugging. Everybody's we got through it. It's one of those things that always unite. You can have a group of strangers, and that first bit of trouble that you guys have will unite the whole group.
And because you're all trying to, when the sun starts to set and you are in the middle of nowhere and you are still buried in snow, frustration sets in.
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes
people are tired.
Panic can set in.
You are freezing.
Yeah.
Right? You are wet. I'm switching socks back and forth and running them through the heater. It's
wow.
We weren't prepared. We were a little unprepared for that. But at the end of it, everybody drove home, and we're all still friends, and nobody hated each other. And if anything, we all still get together and laugh about it.
Yeah. I mean, we did set the expectation that we wanted a challenge. We wanted to test our skills. So everyone came out with full recovery gear, full food, everything that they needed. Everyone had winches. Everyone knew how to recover vehicles. And, so the challenge was, how far into the backcountry, into the deep powder could we get, and how could we test ourselves in these recovery situations? So it was fun.
That's pretty cool. So the craziest rig that I've ever seen at any event that I've ever been to was the first Big Iron event. What do we got? What are we showing? I can't read that.
Texas pecan, brown sugar.
It's called pecan, not
dude.
Pecan,
I got some pecan whiskey up here. And
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. It's pecan and brown sugar bourbon, but I'm coughing again, so I thought maybe I'd try a little bit.
That'll work. Yeah, do that. So it was an event. It was the first year, a couple of years ago, called the Big Iron event, which is like a music festival Overland event. and there was a guy in a Honda CRX with 31-inch tires. He had Mad Max bumpers on it. It was the craziest, funnest looking thing I've ever seen. And the whole time I was like, I just want to drive it. I just want to drive. That's so ridiculous. I just want to drive it.
Right. Did you get to drive it?
No, I didn't even get a chance to talk to the guy. He was always gone or passed out or something. So yeah, didn't get a chance for that.
Passed out.
You see something cool, you can't be afraid to walk up and be like, hey man, can I?
Yeah.
Like,
give me please. Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
I just want to molest it for 5 minutes. Yeah. Please.
So tell us what the future of Rigs and Coffee looks like. Have you guys had that discussion? Is it, what different things are you guys going to start doing, or do you guys have a plan? Also, is there a shop? Is there, like, how are you guys? I'm asking too many questions.
No, go for it.
But please. How are you guys making this profitable for yourself? Is it through gear that you're selling? Like, how does that all work? Because Lee and I have talked about it, and we're like, we know that it's no charge to start one of these up. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to pay a commission or anything like that to get one started. So how are you guys able to do this and generate any kind of income if you are? Like,
So it's, I know Jacob kind of touched on this earlier. So when we started Rigs and Coffee, we had no plan to build this out to some nationwide thing, right? Like we were looking at one deal, right? Like one event, and now we're at 29, working on 2 more right now, and we made it a point to say, hey, we're never going to charge anybody for this. And we also made it a point to say, hey, look, we're not going to do any sponsorship. And we're not going to take money from anybody because we don't want it to influence how we build out this platform and this organization. So for the past 5 years, Rigs and Coffee has been entirely self-funded. We make no money. We don't charge people for anything at all. We don't, we sold some patches one time. Now we just kind of give them away. And that's really been it. I mean, Jacob and I have truly like self-funded this thing to make sure that there was no influence on it. Right. We never ever want, like, we're not a retailer. We're not a manufacturer. We're not a distributor. We don't have any plans to be that either. Right. I mean, that would actually like compete with the places that host us. Right. Like, so that wasn't a direction that we wanted to go down either. As far as swag, like, I don't know, would people buy Rigs and Coffee shirts? I don't email us, guys. If you would, let us know, and maybe we'll do some of that. I mean, we've done some shirt runs before and we ended up just giving them away. So, but if people want Rigs and Coffee swag, let us know. We'd love to do that, and maybe that's a thing. But look, I mean, this thing has taken off. It's growing, and we've now come to the bridge where we have to start looking at some sponsorship, but it's really just sponsorship to continue the growth of the organization. So we've started talking to some companies that are interested in kind of becoming a title sponsor, becoming a sponsor of Rigs and Coffee. We're trying to figure out what that looks like. Yeah. Right. Because we don't want to take away from what we have and what this community, right? Like, forget Jacob, but what this community is actually built
on the sponsor side of it. I understand where you're going, because you don't want to get a sponsor that is in direct competition with a place that already has a Rigs and Coffee, and people get butthurt and they just it becomes a problem.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's like this has been so much fun for Jacob and me, right? Yeah. Like, this has been a lot of fun. We've got amazing friends, right, and all over the country. And one of our good friends actually became nomadic through 2020. And he was like, he would message me and he'd be like, dude, he's like, I met somebody else and they've been to this event here. And now, like, we're on, like, we're doing White Rim together. Like, that literally true story. Like, he was literally in Zion, ran into another dude who was like, oh, I see your sticker. And he's like, you guys, like, there's a guy out in like North Carolina who has a sticker from a one-off event we did in Montana. Like, so it's crazy what our community has actually built, like, in addition to kind of what we do. And so, and yeah, from the sponsorship standpoint, we're trying to figure out what that road looks like, because, logistically we have to do something, right, to continue growing the brand. Like, you guys know, like running a website, running a YouTube, like it's not entirely free. It's far from it, right? And that's just the like the checkbook or the credit card that you're using, right? And then there's like the time that you pour into it, and I mean, like, we have another team member who handles all our social media, and his name's Tom. He's out of Texas. He's a wonderful dude. I mean, just a great guy, and we're really, really lucky to have him. And he's helped us, he's helped offload some things on him, and he's taken on a lot of stuff as a volunteer, and it's allowed us to continue growing the organization. So we are at that bridge. We're trying to figure out exactly what that looks like, and I'm pretty excited. We're both pretty excited for 2023 and what that looks like. I think our next goal is to actually get to 50 locations, to go from 30 to 50. There's like some wicked dream I have, like, of one in every state. I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen, because I don't think there's enough. I don't know what Vermont looks like for overlanding, or New Hampshire.
No, there's totally a Vermont guy.
So
he used to ride with Mountain State all the time.
There you go. So
yeah,
if you're out there and you're interested, let us know, and reach out to us, and we're constantly, we're going to be adding. I think we're going to be adding a lot of locations throughout next year. So make sure to sign up on our emails through the rigscoffee.org website. But yeah, I mean, that's really what the future looks like for us, is actually just to continue adding locations, good locations, and continue building organization, and we'll do this podcast again in 12 months, and we'll hopefully have the same message.
Now, when you set up locations, are you looking at like a certain number of miles away from another, like if there's one already somewhere, or is it population based? Because like Oklahoma and California are completely different.
Totally.
Like you could have one 15 miles away and have 5 times the number of people that you have in the state of Oklahoma. So how do you guys judge that or base that?
Yeah, so we set an early marker of 2 hours. So it's 2 hour drive time. That seems to be, because if you're in the middle, an hour in either direction, you're okay. But we don't want them any closer than that. So and we vehemently stick to that guideline. So we definitely stick to that 2 hour guideline. That's a hard line. So
perfect. Oklahoma City's
I apologize for people. So we have one at Okie Overland. So if you're actually, so it's crazy. I have clients in Tulsa, so I work nationwide, and Tulsa is actually interesting. Has the second most Art Deco buildings to Miami. Mm-hmm. So it like literally becomes like cool. So if you're an old fashioned guy, then like Tulsa's kind of on that list of like, you kind of got to go there. It's like Kansas City. Mm-hmm. If you're into like prohibition speakeasies, got to go to Kansas City. So
Jack White from the White Stripes owns a house in Oklahoma, and part of it is because the Art Deco there. He can get a lot. I've got a buddy that knows Art Deco people, and they say that he's always coming through their place or calling them and seeing if they've got certain things, because he's into that kind of stuff. So
that's awesome. Yeah, my wife started looking at homes in Tulsa last night.
Really?
Yeah, she was like, man, look at this place. Like
Tulsa King has just put us on the map.
Right? No, she grew up she was born in North Carolina and grew up there and in Washington State. So she is not a fan of Southern California.
Gotcha.
She's like,
North Carolina. My family's from the Ventura Oxnard area. And so they all moved here, and I was the first born in Oklahoma. And I was like, you screwed me. I can't ever move back because the cost of living is so outrageous.
Yeah.
And we do have a lot of California migrants come to Oklahoma for that reason. They retire, they sell their, house that's, their $2 million.
Yeah.
And it's they come here and they buy the same house for $350,000.
Yeah. I hope they're assimilating and not changing.
Yeah. And
that's my big, luckily, like that's another, I mean, this organization has allowed Jacob and I to travel around and meet a lot of cool people in a lot of cool places. And we always make sure to let people know, like, look, we're interested in joining your culture, not bringing ours with us. We want to learn about you, know about you, like, my wife and I, we travel, before we had a kid, we used to travel to Europe and stuff like that. But it was always like, we love finding like the, off the trail pub and hanging out there for 6 hours.
So any international rigs and coffee yet?
We are so interested in doing something like that. We have
tea and coffee.
We would really like to do that. We'd love to have something in Australia, which is kind of a thing. We'd love to have something in Europe. We think
we know some people in Israel.
That'd be great.
Let us know, man.
We're coffee.
Yeah, we would love it. And I think that it's weird because like I've been to Iceland, which is obviously like a totally different world when it comes to rigs, right? Like,
isn't that so messed up that Iceland's like the place that's green and Greenland's the place that's icy?
Yeah, but it is like, I've messaged Arctic Trucks because they actually built a Grand Cherokee like on 35s, still on air, like
35s and 40-inch wide tires.
Yeah, it's awesome. It looks so cool. And I'm like, I messaged them and I'm like, guys, how do I get this here? And they're like, nah, we're not doing it. I'm like, come on, like, just, you're opening a shop in England. Like, what's it going to cost me to get this thing done here? And they're like, nah, we're not doing it. I'm like, you're killing me. So, but yeah, I wonder, and maybe you guys can actually tell us, like, what's that, is there, like, you guys talk to people from all over the place. Like, is there a meetup culture in, like, I know there is for like Tesla, because I got a guy who runs like the London Tesla Club. He's a friend of mine, but like, is there a meetup culture in Europe, in other places for Overland?
Yeah, there is in Australia. They have a few, and they get crunk, dude. Like, it's a mess. Like, people get lost in the desert kind of stuff.
I'd say South Africa has a little bit of a cult following to have, events. I've seen some stuff posted, and Theo would probably be, or Hein would be good to tell us.
Yeah,
more, Michael.
I definitely know that, like the Middle East for sure. They've got a huge car culture, and you see the sand dune stuff all the time. And there's like 40 of them standing on top of the sand dune, almost getting run over by some truck that's come flying over the top. Craziness like that. And I mentioned Israel because, and I never pronounce it right, it's the skid plate company, Lee.
Asphere.
So we know basically the owner's daughter and son-in-law, because they travel the United States and do the shows, and they're big coffee people. Like, they're big, like, hey, you got to have some Hebrew coffee, and it's basically like cowboy coffee. I mean, it's gritty.
That shit'll change your life. Like,
it will. Yeah, it'll change your butthole real quick.
I mean, if you don't have high blood pressure, you will temporarily when you drink that coffee. Because, man, I mean, I had a little sip of their coffee, and they do it in the little small things, Yeah. And dude, I thought my head was going to explode.
That's
they
funny.
do. They call their coffee shops are like the size of shot glasses.
That's all you need.
Awesome. Oh, okay. So it's like Turkish coffee, like where they give you like the.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, gotcha. Well, let me ask you guys. Again, you talk to so many people. What do you guys want to see from an organization like Rigs and Coffee?
I think doing exactly what you're doing so far has been such a breath of fresh air. Knowing, Scott, that kind of runs the, I guess he started running with the Express, the one out in Northwest Arkansas. Knowing him and seeing how that kind of developed and became a thing. The one in Tulsa, obviously Artemis has got one with a pretty good following. I think shops are perfect because there's something for the shops to get out of it, because they get people there and people end up buying stuff. I love the community side of it, to where you're kind of like, hey, look, we're not charging. I think that you should somehow. And I don't know if it's having a website set up just to sell swag, to have some shirts that anybody can buy, and then, or if it's kind of like having the shirt and saying, okay, Okie Overland, if you want to produce some shirts, great. And if you want our name on them, then here's the kickback on that, or something like that. To where they kind of handle it, so you're not having to be responsible for shipping out 50 shirts to Okie Overland that says Rigs and Coffee at Okie Overland or whatever. They can kind of use that name a little bit, but there's a little bit of a cost to that, because they're gonna be selling the shirts.
Well, here's what I think. I think that Michael's right, that you guys do a really good job just the way that you're doing it, because one, it's not politicized like so many things are nowadays. It's it's very casual and laid back. It's it's a fun time. I mean, you just never hear of, well, you haven't heard of anybody getting shot. You haven't heard, I mean, it's a really fun thing. The only thing I would add is I think that you guys need a couple of guys to hit up some of these things around the country and do live radio shows from them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
we'd love to do it, and we'll cut you all the IOUs we can write. So,
I'm glad to play you Tuesday for the hamburger today. Yeah,
I got unsigned checks.
I'm so far in the red. I don't know if I'll ever get out when it comes to this thing, but yeah.
And we do kind of the same. I mean, we do have some sponsors, but I mean, like we're not sitting back here making money. We do this because we love it.
Yeah.
And if someday it paid 1 or 2 bills, great. But we do it because we love it. We do it for the connection, to meet people, to make lifelong friends, to be able to go to an event and bump into somebody and give them a hug, even though we hadn't met in person yet. But, kind of that's what we're all about, the community and building that. So sounds like you guys are exactly the same way, which is awesome. I mean, I would just love to see it grow for you guys. What we got down here?
Yeah.
I mean,
monthly rigs and coffee.
Have you ever seen her? Have you ever read her Northology?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. It is like off the charts.
It's amazing.
It's beyond amazing. Yeah.
So that's something that I think if we got some sponsorships, or when we get sponsorships, we'd like to build out more. Like, we just started this email announcement. So every week we'll put out emails saying like where are the upcoming events, but to build out like our content, like we write articles of the trips we put together, the trainings, but like, I mean, there's just so much time in the day, right? Like, and there's 3 of us putting this on. We have all the partnerships and location hosts, but 29 locations, but that's every month. So we have 360 events a year, which is amazing. Like it's hard to even fathom. So to just imagine it all. So, I mean, Tom, who David talked about, is, he's the one who put together the Lubbock location, has been doing great. So, having people like him on board who help build out the brand is huge.
Cindy, I sent you a message. We're gonna
take you up on that.
Yeah, no, we're in. So since you know how to run a magazine and you volunteer as tribute, we'll do that. She'll probably throw her kid, her like kid sister in 5 days.
So now, do you guys have a Patreon at least?
Nope.
No.
See, Lee and I talk about that, and we're like, I think we've got one. We just have never ever promoted it or really thought of how to do it correctly. And one of the things that we've thought about is doing a Patreon only show once a month, to where you got to be a Patreon to see it, and it's a show just geared towards the Patreon followers. But I think that would be a way that you guys can maybe bring in a little bit of money to help offset some of the cost of a website and different things like that, which I don't think would step on anybody's toes. And I look at a Patreon like a tip jar. If you like what's going on, if you like what we're doing, just think of it as a cup of coffee, a month, and just throw that in the tip jar. So I think you guys probably could think of something like that. And then with that, maybe even have some exclusive kind of meetups, as Patreon members would be able to be a part of.
It's funny. We've been so hard set against being anything exclusive and being anything different, right? Like, and we've watched some of the early Overland organizations, right, go down that route, and you look what happened, right? And then look, and I got nothing against those people. Like, if you spend enough time doing something, like, you deserve to make money doing it, right? And if you're going to pour your heart and soul into something like that, then maybe you should, right? And and so I don't judge any people for that. It's just, is that what we want to build, right? And I think, like, we've been so, I guess, inclusive, right? That like the exclusive was
a
never
scary word.
Yeah. And so, and asking people for something is always been weird. Like, I I run my own corporation, have for 13 years now, right? And so like I don't make money unless I go to work in the morning, right? And like phone always rings. You guys, you know what that's like, right? Especially running a podcast like this. And so that's one side of my life, and this is that super, open, non-exclusive, inclusive, right? I hate using the word inclusive, but that's kind of what we built. So yeah, I think there's it's so scary for us to try to jump in and do something like that because it's so against kind of a grain. What we'd like to do, I think is we'd like to do more things like this to continue, that growth, right? And so if you guys ever need somebody to drink whiskey with, feel free to give me a call. I'm always happy to do that. Gives me, not that I need a reason to drink whiskey, but it gives me a reason to have so much whiskey. It's got to get through. It's Jacob knows, like literally he walked into my house. We had a whiskey tasting, and it was actually almost all Rigs and Coffee people, which was kind of fun. And I want to say I think I had 40 whiskeys on the table that I then wore a nice velour coat and went through each one of them. So if you guys are ever out in Southern California, let me know. We'll do
definitely.
Wait, pipes or cigars?
Oh, I used to smoke cigars. I don't smoke cigars anymore.
Okay,
but
well,
but whatever you want to do. It's
I mean, if you got the jacket,
pretty much everything's legal.
You got the jacket and the whiskey, you gotta have the cigar, man. Even if you don't do anything but chew on the damn thing.
I just got tired of having headaches for 3 days and coughing for 4, and so I just
I've had some cigars that put me in a different world.
See, Michael and I, it looks like a cigar, but it really ain't a cigar. It's the devil.
Dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't do that stuff anymore. I don't know what you're talking about.
I know.
I
always love to throw Michael on the bus, and he's like square peg.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a oh, here it is. Whoa, humidor.
See, I don't work. Michael works, so he's got to think about stuff like that. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit.
Love it. Yeah.
Well, what I was thinking of with and exclusive, I say that, but I meant like, to where you had like, we're gonna go camping at a certain place, and it's for Rigs and Coffee supporters, members, whatever. And maybe there is some type of fee and the only reason why I say that is because if not, you're going to have 100,000 people show up, and the trails are going to suck because it's going to be car to car or be it rig to rig the whole way.
Yeah.
And so that's the only reason why I brought it up as far as some kind of exclusivity. If you did some kind of an event, otherwise it would be, I'm telling you, it'd be 100,000 people show up at your event.
Oh, so we do periodic trips, right? So we actually do guided trips that we run.
Oh, right on. Okay.
The first one we did, so like that snow trip was a guided trip. We do them, we've done Oregon coast multiple times. We've done
the first 2 days were guided. The last afternoon was a shit show, but
yeah. So
that's the way they always turn out.
Jacob guided us into 60 inches of fresh powder.
Yeah.
So
the first trip we ever did, we didn't do a capped invite. We did a full open, anyone join. We ended up with 2 convoys of 15 or 20 vehicles. It looked like a war meet in the middle of nowhere, which was a lot of fun. And we had trailers too. We had Patriot camper trailers on that trip. I think 3. And so we got to camp, and literally it looks like a Overland Expo show in the middle of nowhere, but everyone's cooking up. We have one photo somewhere with the whole group, and it's just a giant wall of people out on this, and it was so much fun. But yeah, it was just we learned after that we have to do limited capped invites because running a trip.
It's the expectation of people, there's some people that want the big community thing. And then there's the other people who are like, I just want to go wheel. And this is too many people. We got to stop because Jimmy keeps getting his, Honda Pilot hung up on something, so
Yeah. One thing we are, it's one thing we are looking at doing is it is actually a big shout out to the community. I mean, the community is really giving, right? I mean, we had some awesome food drives, had some awesome toy drives over the wintertime. Or over the past 30 days, if you will. But one of the things that we're looking at doing next year is actually partnering with some veterans organizations to do some pretty to get some veterans out on trail. I mean, Project Zero Alliance out of Houston, Texas. They do a really good job at that. And they're building out that, and those guys are really good dudes. And Veteran Overland up in Portland, really, really good dudes, who do the same thing. And so, we're actually really trying to do that. So, I guess some of the exclusiveness might be, hey, look, we'd love to raise some money to get some veterans on trail. And I think most people would get behind that.
Yeah.
And again, it's so funny. There's another thing where we wouldn't make anything, but it's, but we would want people, we're going to need people to lead that. We're going to need people to drive, those guys and gals around.
Do you have a Riggs and Coffee in Grand Junction, Colorado?
We have one in Castle Rock, Colorado. How far is Grand Junction from Castle Rock?
Shit, don't start me lying.
That map shit.
Yeah. So we got a buddy. He's originally from Oklahoma, but he lives there. And Fruta, which is a suburb of Grand Junction, but it's called Element Outdoors, Travis. And he has a whole fleet of trucks and rigs that he takes. Will take people out. They can either rent them, but he likes to do stuff like, hey, find some veterans and get hooked up with like Oscar Mike or somebody, bring some people out, some guys, and do it. So you might reach out to Travis at Element.
All right, we'll definitely do that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And if he gets pissed off or whatever, we didn't send you, but if he's happy about it, then we sent you. No, I'm just kidding. He's there's very few people in the world that are, I think, as genuinely nice as he is, and Michael can attest to that.
He's one of the best dudes I've ever met.
He is just he's a fantastic guy, and he always wants to go out of his way to help others. So might be something to
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. So yeah, we'll noted, very very in dark ink noted, because that is something we want to expand into in 2023. Is actually, and it's something we really started working on last year, and trying to figure it out, is how to have some crossover into some other communities. Right, whether that's the 2A community, which I know has a lot of crossover in the Overland community, right?
Yeah.
And so we've had a couple of Rigs and Coffees down at Rifle Supply in Huntington Beach, which have gone well. But especially, we'd love to do something on that veteran first responder side, and really just kind of giving back to the people that give it all.
Oscar Mike Overland, Jared and those guys. Jared has the T-shirt company. You might reach out to Jared Cook at Oscar Mike. I think they kind of orchestrate some of the same type of stuff. Yeah. And he's up near Kansas City. So, I mean, he's kind of in that Springfield, North Arkansas, even the Tulsa. He's not very far from any of those. So
he's one of the shortest guys you'll ever meet.
Yeah, man, I cracked some jokes on that poor guy. If you go to their Facebook page,
what is short? I just, because I'm like 5'8", so I'm on the
he's
so like I catch a lot of jokes.
4'10".
4'11". Okay. Wow.
Nah,
yeah.
Listen, there's a post of all the Oscar Mike guys on their Facebook.
They're
page,
all tall, really.
And they're all tall, and there's this Jerry, and I'm like, I call him, and I'm like, so who's the kid?
He's not. I mean, he'd be lucky to be 5'6".
Okay.
And when he wears heels and he's in drag, he's about 5'8".
Yeah. Which, I mean, he's usually 5'8" then.
Love it. People always hate on us shorter guys, but you know what? We fit into every sports car you ever wanted to be in.
Right. Totally. Every race car, everything.
Every single one of them.
I can't. Okay, I can't.
You might have to have blocks on your shoes to reach the pedals, but
I'm not even doing
those chairs slide pretty far forward.
They slide pretty far.
Tell you that.
Yeah, I've got a buddy that's 6'1", and he went to get in a Ferrari, and he was like, it was the most uncomfortable thing he'd ever experienced in his life. Fit.
Yeah. I got a buddy who owns
They're really built for like people 5'9".
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's the perfect height to be, 5'9", 5'10". Just saying.
Yeah. I was lucky. I have a friend who owns a GT3 and a friend who owns he had a 570S McLaren. And we went out to the track, and they were like, hey, you can come. And I actually drove more miles than either one of them in their cars.
Because they were uncomfortable.
I'm a track junkie. I love it. And so, but I jumped into the 570S is unbelievably fast. You feel like you're sitting on the front axle, which is weird.
Mm.
The GT3 is a 10 times better car to drive.
Really?
Yeah.
You need to look up Scott Huddleston and the Express Rally.
Oh yeah, no, we know. Yeah, we know.
They
Scott.
know him.
Yeah.
They do
Okay.
the
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Northwest
that's right.
Arkansas.
But
Yeah.
but there's they've opened a track over here. What is that thing,
I
like
do.
2.4 miles or something? It's like it's pretty rad from what I can tell.
Every time a track opens,
And
I look at real estate nearby.
yeah,
There's a
yeah.
really good one in Texas.
Texas Motor Speedway, the one outside of Houston, or
No, Texas Motor Speedway. I've been on. I
Okay.
did a racing school.
Okay.
There, Corvettes. They were Corvette race cars. So
Yeah.
I lapped 2 people in the 10 laps that we got, and the guy was like, "That's never happened. That's never happened."
Love it.
I have
like,
to
"Well,
roll out of my
sponsor me and I'll
aunt's
be a race car
Zeus. Look at AJ.
No,
Love
it's
it.
outside of
AJ got rid of his Jeep and got him a
what town
Ram.
It's called. It's escaping me. It begins with a G. Anyway, but there's a track out there somewhere. Very cool.
Yeah. So it's those are fun cars, but yeah. So
yeah,
we like being outdoors.
Awesome.
Shady part
Guys,
of it is
we're looking at an hour 30.
I was going to say this is like pretty on the longer end, I think,
right now. Yeah, we've had such a good time. Sometimes
wait till you get the bill for this shit. Wait till you get the bill for this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
The first hour
I
is
didn't
free.
tell them about that part.
Yeah, the first hour is free. The next
$4 a minute afterwards.
It's $4.99 a minute after
Clio
that.
line or
yeah.
It's
There may
3
be
a.m.
charges. There may be
Pocket
charges
money.
on your phone.
And we don't take kids on credit or none of that shit either. I'm just telling you because I got too many now as it is.
Exactly. Hey, I did want to ask, have you guys been to the expos? Is that something you're interested in doing, going to events and having Rigs and Coffee represented at those events or anything?
Yeah, so we actually helped put on with John P, who's has a PR company, the first Toyo Trail Pass.
Okay.
So we did a whole run from Portland over to Hood River for that event. We had a booth. We've also been, personally to the expos and stuff. I think David could speak more about our plan.
expo, the main expo in Flagstaff is the same day as my wife's birthday.
Oh.
So
I can't think of a better way for you to celebrate her birthday than taking her to an expo.
So yeah,
and
so
buying
Expo
some
West
shit.
Expo's a tough one for me. That Expo is a tough one for me. I do plan on being at the Bend Expo with Ironman America and Overland Coffee later this year. And we'd love to do more expos, right? Like the hardest thing for us is just getting out to them, right? And all the costs associated with that. We're hoping, right, through kind of some of the things we talked about from a sponsorship side, that actually allows us to get out and meet more people from around the country. That would actually be a really, really great thing. I see AV Overland Supply, who runs Rigs and Coffee out here in Southern California. Sounds like I'm on the road to hit with him to Oregon, so that'll be fun. Awesome. But yeah, we'd love to do more of that stuff. We really, really would. So I've been following More Expo for a while. And again, I listened to that podcast. That was really, really interesting to listen to. Really good to listen to. I'd love to get out to that. I'd love to get out east. Breaking through the Midwest and getting out east with Rigs and Coffee was a huge plan for us over the past 2 years.
Gotcha.
We had so many locations out west, right? And out west is kind of easy. And, I shouldn't say that, but it's huge saturation, huge market right out here, and a lot of people, and so it was easy to grow Rigs and Coffee out west. Yeah. As we started moving east, it was always a plan of ours. Like we really, really wanted to move east, and we'd love to get more eastern locations set up. We're super excited to have Atlanta coming on board.
Nice.
We got Tampa, Florida coming on board here in January. And we'd love to we got North Carolina. We're gonna have 3 locations in North Carolina.
Okay, so wait, back to North Carolina. Where's your wife from in North Carolina?
So her dad is SF, so she was born out of Duke.
Oh yeah, okay, right on.
Yeah. So yeah, so she's out of Bragg.
Nice.
And yeah, so she's dropped the Southern accent like once.
Has she? I have this thing about Boone and Banner Elk, North Carolina, that that's where I'm going to retire. I love it.
Yeah.
I lived in Charlotte and Raleigh-Durham when I worked for the airlines, and I love North Carolina. So that's just
it's really cool when you're, I've been to Greensboro, North Carolina. Yeah. I've been to Seneca, South Carolina. it's amazing when you're flying into Greensboro, North Carolina, because all you see is just trees and then little white steeples.
Yep.
Punching through the trees.
Yeah.
And when you're from out west, like that's a wildly different place to land.
I've never thought about it that way, but
if you're ever landing, if anybody listening is ever landing in North Carolina, just look out your window when you're landing in a small airport in North Carolina, and it'll amaze you. All the green and the little white steeples poking out from them is absolutely gorgeous.
Little white steeples, that's funny.
Huh. Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. So, but yeah, we're gonna have 3 locations in North Carolina: Asheville, Raleigh, and Pineville. And so we're super excited about that.
Asheville Outfitters, is that who's going to do your one in Asheville?
Asheville is actually at it's at a brewery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's called Miller Brewing.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if Asheville Vehicle Outfitters was going to be the one doing it. They have a quiet
I think they've
place.
Showing up, and then Carolina Mud is there, 828 Overland is there, Dynamite Roasters is the coffee there, and then and we have TEQ Customs hosts one of the other ones, and then the last one's going to be at Rack Attack. So that's been great. And then South Carolina is at Thomas Creek Brewery.
Nice.
So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, so we really,
you guys growing that.
Yeah, so it's really excited. I love the South. I love that whole area, and so to be expanding down there, we've talked to some people in Alabama about trying to put something together, which would be really cool. And I think having some locations in Florida, having a location in Georgia, I think it's only time until we add Alabama, which I know has a vast growing community of the overlanding type.
Alabama's like Oklahoma. It's a shithole.
Hey, don't put us in the same category as Alabama.
Well, I mean,
is it a football thing that you guys, or is it more than that? Is it
the only reason?
Is it truly just like SEC Big Ten?
My old boss that I can't stand, he was a big Alabama fan.
Listen, the only reason that Alabama fans say Roll Tide's because they can't spell elephant. That's it. It's the only reason.
Okay, so that is actually really funny because I've been to 2 Alabama games. I work in the insurance industry, so actually I've been with Protective, so they it's the Protective play of the game, right?
Yeah.
So I have like Alabama gear, which is weird, right? And so I just had my wife sell an Alabama golf shirt. A, I don't golf, and B, I don't really follow Alabama football, so it is what it is. But it is, I will tell you right now, it is a freaking experience to be down there. I've been in the quad twice. I've done the whole thing. But it is funny that it is Roll Tide and the mascot's an elephant. It literally makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. And then go to Athens and get to the stadium there, and it's a whole nother. That is a whole nother. Yeah.
Yeah, it is cool though when you are rolling into that Tuscaloosa Stadium though. It's
I totally agree.
Stall's a mile out, and every there's it's a T. It's in the middle of a cross, right? And so there's only 4 rows that lead in. There's not there's no freeway nearby. You're literally driving down Fraternity Row.
Yep.
To get to the stadium.
Wow.
So.
Yep.
Well, very cool.
It's cool.
I have a feeling we haven't talked about this. But I have a feeling that there may be an Oklahoma City Rigs and Coffee in the near future. We'll need to talk about this more. I even have a location in mind.
Perfect.
So yeah.
Email us. We're good to go. Or you have our email, obviously. So
yeah. So tell everybody, okay, on social media, do you have? Obviously, we connected, but tell everybody how they can get a hold of you. Through social media or however they need to if they want a Rigs and Coffee somewhere.
Yeah, so rigscoffee.org is our website. That's the #1 place to go. You can email us there. You can message us there. Let us know if you want to set up a Rigs and Coffee in your location, and we'll get to work on it right away. And then social media, obviously Instagram's primary Rigs Coffee. Begrudgingly, we have a TikTok. Yeah, I know. We also have a LinkedIn. I don't know why. But it's we have a YouTube actually, and our YouTube's actually grown quite a bit over the past 45 days. So we're actually really focused on that right now, which is cool. But yeah, so info@rigscoffee.org is our email address, and then like I said, rigscoffee.org is the website. Definitely check us out on there, and then @rigscoffee on Instagram.
Very cool.
Sweet.
Well, guys, you've been amazing. Thank you for coming on. Yeah. Let's do another.
I feel like I'm drinking alone. I've watched you guys, and I watched Lee like take a swig of the bottle.
Black cup the whole time.
Here's the thing. Next time we're gonna have to leave. We're gonna have to mute David. Give Jacob some time to talk.
It was so Jacob and I talked before this, and he's like, "Look, you love to talk."
Yeah, no, I get it.
Get at it.
Dave and I,
you did do a great job.
5 years now. We know.
Yeah. No, you guys did a great job. We'll have to do it again.
Yeah.
Next time we'll do the blue run.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
This is
that's special.
It's one of those.
Oh.
Ooh, yeah. That's fancy.
I'm telling you guys, ever come out to Southern California,
more fancy than us.
You can come out to Southern California. We'll make sure you're well liquored up.
Well, fine. Yeah, we'll book the gas freaking credit card.
It's $5 a gallon out here.
Jeez. So, I just bought gas for $2.45 today.
Yeah, don't. Wow. It hurts, man. It hurts.
It was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah. Oh, I know AJ's asking. I'm in Simi Valley.
Simi Valley, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guys, again, thanks for coming on. Yeah, we need to make this happen more often. You know, I mean, you guys have things going on, so we need to talk about it. When you guys open up new places, all that kind of stuff, let us know, and we'll definitely help promote that. Everybody,
we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for being on the show, Lee. Thank you for pushing all the buttons and waking up in time to get the show going on today.
Yep,
and not coughing in my ear the whole time.
I was trying not to.
Held it together pretty good. I'm surprised. All you guys out there, thank you so much for listening, for pushing the buttons, for sharing, for liking, for just being a part of this, for being in the chat, and just making us feel a little special. We appreciate it. So whatever you do, make sure that you guys always go all over.